Alright YouTube, so welcome to my review of The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. Now the reason why I am reviewing this game in 2017 is because I just recently finished it. Now, just to be clear, it didn't actually take me 2 years to finish this game. This game's not that big or that difficult or whatever. It's just one of those games that I'd play in spurts. You know, I'd play it for, 2-3 weeks at a time, and then I'd stop playing it. And I was enjoying everything. I was exploring the entire world. There's a couple of huge maps to this game, so it takes a while to explore everything, and I just recently committed to finishing the main story. So if you're newer to the channel, and there has been a lot of people added to the channel, a lot of new subscribers since I last kind of reviewed something, I don't really do like a standard review. I'm more so just throw gameplay on in the background and just talk about the things I do and don't like about the game. Now to start things off with the things that I do like about The Witcher 3 is the size of the game. The game is massively huge. It's not one open world, there's a couple of maps to the game. Now right here is the world map with each location that you can go to. Now Novigrad and Velen are actually one location. I don't really know why they're two separate things on the map, but it's all one map together. The Royal Palace is nothing. White Orchard is where you start the game at. It's a decent sized starter map. It's not too big. Skellige Isles is very, very big. There's also one area in that picture called Kaer Morhen. It's a decent sized one. It's maybe the size of White Orchard, a little bit bigger, a little bit smaller, not entirely sure. You get that later on in the game. And then from what I've seen, the Blood and Wine expansion pack actually adds another map as well for you to go and do quests at. The Hearts of Stone one didn't for some reason. It just expanded on the Novigrad Velen map. That was still cool, but it's kind of awesome to know that Blood and Wine adds another map to explore as well. And these are very, very big maps. Now right here we have a map comparison. I don't know exactly how accurate it is, but it's only measuring the Novigrad Velen map and the Skellige Isles map. It's not including some of the other smaller maps we have. And even with just those two maps together, according to this thing, it's like 3 times the size of Skyrim's map. So being about 3 times the size of Skyrim's map should give you an indication of exactly how big this is. Because Skyrim, while we make fun of that game now, and I usually refer to it as Sky Meme these days, it is a very big map. If you were to try to walk from Riften to Markarth or whatever, it would take you forever to go from one side of the map to the other. And this map, when you combine them together, is roughly 3 times the size of it. Now obviously they are separate maps, so it's not all one map together, but still. And then you also have the watery parts of the map, because you can actually swim in this game. You can swim underwater. There's loot chests and monsters to fight underwater, shit like that. So you also have the underwater sections of the game too, which is more areas to explore. Next up for the things that I like, and one of my favorite things about this game is that the choices actually fucking matter. We actually have an RPG where choices make an impact. Usually when it comes to each quest, there's multiple outcomes to pretty much everything. There's usually the standard outcome and then something that you might want to do, like a good guy or bad guy type of outcome. Kill somebody, don't kill them, whatever the case, and you might see them later on in the game. One example I can give you guys is there's a part of the game where you need a pass to get across this bridge. There's multiple ways just to earn this pass alone. You can either buy it off the guard who won't let you through. There's a separate guard who gives you a quest, and one of the rewards for the quest is a pass. Or you can buy it from this guy, kind of on the black market, like a fake one. Or you can do a quest from that guy that's trying to sell it to you and earn it that way as well. So there's 3 or 4 different ways just to earn the pass. But if you take the quest from the guard to earn the pass, there's you got to figure out who's killing these people. And you find out it's a group of bandits, and they're actually kind of good guys. They're killing some of the guards and stuff because the guards are crooked. They're killing their people, they're raping their people, whatever the case, stealing from them, whatever it is. They're killing them, but you got to decide the outcome of these bandits. What are you going to do with them? Now, when you go to meet their leader, they take all of your weapons, and whenever you go into dialogue, you get the option of, you can tell them no, they must be stopped, and you got to fight them on sight with just your fist, which is pretty much guaranteed death unless you're just like a god at the fist fighting, because you do shit for damage, and they're going to have their swords and stuff. Or you can agree to kind of let them go free and they'll give you your weapons back, and then you have the choice of either you could pull out your sword and start fighting them right then and there, or you can go about your way and go back and tell the guard what you want to tell him. So right there's just another layer of choices just in that one quest. But if you go back and tell the guards about the bandit camp, him and a group of his guards will go over there and murder them, and you won't get the reward for your quest or your contract because you didn't kill them like you were supposed to. And if you went down that route, the bandit leader will find you later on in the game and attack you and be like, you turned on us, you betrayed us, and you have to fight it outside one of the major cities. So that's just one example of one side quest in this game that is just layered with fucking choices. Obviously in the main story, you have more impactful choices that actually impact the world and characters and stuff like that, but that's just one example. Next up, for something I like about the game, is the combat. Now, it is kind of difficult. There is a learning curve if you're not used to these kinds of games. You got to be able to, counter, dodge, roll, parry, all that type of stuff. And you can't take a whole lot of damage in this game. If you're fighting an enemy that is like a similar level to you, they will take a lot of health from you. Especially if there's a rubber band system in the game, which I think is good as well. If you come across an enemy that's a lot stronger than you, they will take a fuck ton of your health. Sometimes they'll one-shot you. And speaking of the rubber band system, I do think that is a good thing to have in an RPG, because there should be enemies that are just kind of out of your reach. Maybe you take note of that area, come back there when you're stronger. I don't like games where enemies just constantly scale with you so that you're always fighting somebody of similar level. You want to have those really strong enemies that you want to remember to come back to at a later point in time. Speaking of the combat, I really like the looting system in this game. You can find several variants of the exact same armor. It could be like the exact same piece of armor, the exact same level requirement, but they might have possibly different armor values. They could have different buffs, like one will give you 10% in this or 15% in that. Just that kind of thing that makes a good looting system when you can find variants of the same weapons and armor. Speaking of the looting and weapons and armor and stuff like that, they kind of did what Fallout 4 did before that game ever came out, and just about every item in this game has value to some degree, because you can create, pieces of armor, weapons, potions, all that shit. So just about every item is used for something, and you can also dismantle items. Where an item in Fallout 4 might, cover 2 or 3 different things. It can be steel, rubber, and a screw or something. You can break down items in this game and get those things. So if like a piece of clothing can be broken down into like some piece of cloth, some hardened leather, and a couple other things, you'll get all those items into your inventory for alchemy or crafting later on. One major part of this game that I like is the Witcher contracts, or the hunts. They're kind of like hunts from other games. You take a contract, you got to figure out what it is that you're fighting, and you got to defeat it. Now, when I first started playing this game back in 2015, I compared this game to the show Supernatural. I was really into that show at the time, but it is a lot like that, because when you take these contracts, you got to go to the side of the crime, figure out what happened. You use your Witcher sense. You can find clues all around the area, see how the person was attacked. Certain enemies do certain different things to their victims, and that's how you decipher who it is you're fighting. Once you figure out what the creature is that you're about to fight, you then got to craft the right bomb to fight them, apply the right oil to your blades, maybe equip the right magic if they're weak to a certain type of magic, and then you go and fight them, which is very similar to what they do in Supernatural, where certain enemies can only be killed by certain means. It's the same thing with this game. So I've always kind of compared this game to Supernatural for people who have never played this game. And back to where choices matter. Sometimes at the end of these Witcher contracts, you'll find out that the creature you're hunting is not actually evil, and at times you'll have the choice of whether or not you want to kill them. And if you let them live and you go back to the person who gave the contract and you did not bring their head back or their trophy back to show that you actually killed them, you will not be rewarded. So that's another part of where choices matter. Do you want to let this creature live and be the good guy, or do you want that money? There's also a good amount of side content in this game outside of actual questing. You can do like horse races. There's also the card game Gwent, which is spun off into its own fucking game these days. You can get it, I believe, on consoles, but you can also get it on like mobile phones and stuff these days. It's kind of fun. There's a bit of a learning curve. Once you figure it out, it's fucking easy. I didn't touch it until I actually beat the entire game. I didn't do any Gwent duels or battles or whatever. That's something I'm doing now that I don't have anything left to do. And one other small but very good thing that I like about this game is a lot of free DLC. You only have to pay for Hearts of Stone and Blood and Wine. Everything else that's available when you go look at the add-ons for the game is entirely free. There's a bunch of like quests, contracts, clothing, weapons and armor, alternate costumes for characters in the game, like more like hair and like I think beard variants and stuff like that. Just a bunch of free content, which is something awesome. I love when studios do that for their games. Now, on to some of the stuff that I do not like about The Witcher 3. There are still bugs in this game in 2017. I'm sure they're done updating and trying to patch it and all that shit, but there are just some broken quests that you cannot complete without like starting a new game or something. Like there's a quest from near the beginning of the game that I cannot possibly complete. It won't work. There's a quest I have, like a little side secondary quest from the Hearts of Stone expansion that I cannot finish. And it has to do with like a bunch of new weapons and armor. You get a bunch of diagrams. You need a person to decipher them, but he won't decipher them until I complete the quest. And I cannot complete it. That was very heartbreaking. Also, if you've been kind of paying attention to some of the gameplay, the controls are kind of ass at times. Like the character just kind of runs, like he'll take off running really fast at times. When you jump towards a ledge that you can actually grab, you don't always grab, and you might miss and fall to your death, because the fall damage in this game is also very bad. Like, I'm not kidding, you can fall from a height of like 10 feet in the game, and it might take half your life bar, or you might fucking die, which doesn't make any sense, because you get into like crazy fights with big ass monsters that'll hit you and knock you back like 20 feet, and it'll just take a chunk off your health bar. But if you fall just from a decent height, you will fall to your death, which is so fucking annoying. Something else that I have a problem with is sometimes there's bad load times. Now, the thing is, when you fast travel to a new map, there's a big load time usually, but you're loading up an entire new map. And once you're in that map, outside of like cutscenes for dialogue and shit like that, and actually fast traveling when you're on that map, there's no load screens. Like once you load into the map, you can just run from one side to the other, no problem. Speaking of fast traveling, you can't just fast travel whenever you want to. It is one of those games. You have to find a certain location, which are signposts in this game, and then you can travel from one signpost to another. Or if you're in a boat, you can fast travel from the boat, no matter where you're at, to any harbor in the game. It's not the biggest deal ever. I've played other games like this. There is a lot of signposts, but I just like when I can fast travel whenever I want. Now, as much as I do like the combat in this game, it is not really that important because you don't earn a whole lot of experience from combat. Most of your experience comes from the quest. That's where you get 100 or 200, a couple hundred experience at a time, is whenever you complete quests that are of your level. So it's not one of those games where you can just kind of explore the world and kill a bunch of monsters and level up. You pretty much have to quest if you're trying to level at all. Now, something that goes along with the leveling is the skill system. I'm not the biggest fan of it. As you can see the screen right there, in the middle you see the squares with the locks on them. You can only ever have 12 skills active by the end of the game, once you level up enough to where you can access all the skill options. You can only ever have 12 active in the game, and there's a lot of fucking skills in this game. I mean, to the left is just the combat skill tree, and there's 5 rows of 4. So right there alone is 20 different skills, and then you have the magic skill tree next to it, the alchemy one next to that, and then the general one next to that. So there's a lot of skills in this game, so 12 is not really enough in my opinion. Now, you could argue that this promotes multiple playthroughs, and that is kind of true. You can also get a potion later on that allows you to reallocate all the skill points, but being limited to only ever having 12 skills active at any one time just seems kind of not very RPG in my opinion. Actually, one more thing I forgot to put in the good section is the story. It was a very good story with a lot of good choices and a lot of things. There's actually one of the major characters near the end of the game. A lot of the choices you made for her throughout the game matter on what happens to her by the end of the game. I kind of forgot to mention it because I was a little dismissive of the story because I played it in so many parts over the course of 2 years that I wasn't that invested in it, but it was a very good story. And that'll wrap up my review of The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. Even with the handful of things that I found bad about this game, I still honestly believe this game is one of the greatest that's ever been made, and it's one of my favorites I've ever played. I mean, I like this game so much that I made sure to complete the main story first before I even downloaded the first expansion, but I didn't know at the time until I started playing the first expansion pack that it actually differentiates their quest from the base game quest. But that just kind of shows you how much I cared about the main story in the main base game, is that I wanted to finish it first before I moved on to the DLC. So if you haven't played it yet, I couldn't possibly recommend it more to you guys, and it's actually on sale right now. The Game of the Year edition is the lowest it's ever been. You can pick up this game with both of the expansion packs for a mere $20. This week's like the 10th anniversary of the game, which is part of the motivation for me doing this video as well. And I do believe that sells across all platforms. I know for sure on Xbox One, as long as you got a gold membership, it is $20. And I know on Steam, it is currently $20. Not 100% about PS4, but I'm sure it's the same. So hopefully you guys enjoyed my 2017 review of The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. And if you did, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. Turn on notifications. Follow me on Twitter at @TheDashingDavid. Links to my social networks are in the description and in the outro. Later, guys.
And the laboratory. I sincerely hope you burnt everything. The cages, the corpses, the papers.
All right, let's get down to business.
What are you talking about?
Sex. That's why we're here, isn't it?
You may know about wine, but you remain quite unsophisticated otherwise. That's very good, because boars are much better in bed.
Hold up. Hey.
We fuck till it comes to conclusions. All the things that we thought we were losing. I'm a ghost and you know this. That's why we broke up in the first place. 'Cause I want you.